11 million renters in England face the quickest rent surge in 20 years, up more than 9%. While a fifth of UK homes are privately rented, landlords are leaving the market in record numbers as new rights laws loom. Is this truly about renters' rights, or the beginning of landlords' downfall? What you discover next could change how you see Britain's housing crisis. London rents have soared by 15% in just 12 months. In Manchester, the jump is 10%. Vacancy rates in both cities are now at their lowest levels in decades, with agents reporting queues for every viewing. The average private tenant in England now spends over 40% of their income on rent. 1 in 3 under 45s faces this burden. The supply of available rental homes keeps shrinking, even as demand grows. Migration from both within and outside the UK has pushed more people into the private rented sector, while fewer properties come onto the market. In Birmingham, letting agents describe a waiting list for each flat, and some listings disappear within hours. The pressure is not limited to the south. Northern cities and coastal towns are feeling the squeeze too, with local reports of families forced to move miles from their preferred area just to find something affordable. A tenant in Manchester puts it plainly: you can't plan your life. The rent goes up, or the landlord decides to sell, and you're back to square one. For millions, the idea of a secure, long-term home has become a distant hope. This is the new reality. Rents rising faster than wages, properties snapped up in days, and a growing sense of insecurity for those who rent. Professional landlords now control almost 40% of the private rented sector in England. These are investors with multiple properties, often spread across different regions, who treat letting as a business rather than a sideline. Their portfolios give them the scale to weather rising costs and new compliance demands, at least for now. But the sector remains diverse. About a third of all landlords are so-called accidentals, people who inherited a property or couldn't sell their former home, now renting it out as a reluctant sideline. Many of these owners have just 1 or 2 properties and rely on rental income to top up pensions or cover family expenses. Geography shapes who holds the stock. London and the South East account for nearly half of all private lets, dominated by larger investors and cash buyers. In the north and coastal areas, a patchwork of small-scale landlords prevails, with a recent surge in holiday lets and student rentals. Investor motivations differ sharply. Cash-rich buyers, often older or institutional, target new builds and high-yield areas, seeking stable returns. Smaller landlords, squeezed by mortgage rates and tax changes, increasingly view their properties as a pension pot, but face hard choices as profits shrink. Portfolio landlords have the resources to upgrade homes and absorb regulatory shocks, but accidental and small-scale owners are more exposed. Their resilience is being tested by every new rule, cost, and compliance demand. As the market heats up, these differences in ownership shape who stays, who sells, and who can adapt to the pressures ahead. Landlords face a new kind of pressure as insurance markets tighten their grip on the rental sector. Since 2022, several leading insurers, including AXA and Ageas, have pulled out of the UK landlord insurance market entirely. RSA and Zurich have scaled back their offerings, while Direct Line paused new buy-to-let policies in 2024. Brokers now report that the number of insurers willing to cover rental properties has dropped by more than a quarter in just 2 years. This shrinking pool means fewer options and higher hurdles for those seeking cover, especially for properties in flood-prone or high claims areas. Premiums have not stayed still. The Association of British Insurers records a 23% jump in average landlord insurance costs in 2023, 2023 alone. For many, annual increases of 10 to 20% are now routine, with some landlords in high-risk postcodes facing hikes of 30% or more. Alongside the price rises come new exclusions. Flood and subsidence cover is now restricted or comes with excesses running into thousands. Policies increasingly carve out claims related to damp, mold, or tenant-related damage. tightened further by new property standards and the legacy of high-profile legal cases. Some carriers have also cut back on loss of rent and legal expenses cover, particularly for smaller landlords or those with older housing stock. Insurers demand more paperwork too. Proof of tenant referencing, safety checks, and evidence of compliance with the Decent Homes Standard are now standard requirements. The Financial Conduct Authority has acknowledged these shifts, urging insurers to maintain fair access, but admits that many small landlords may be left with limited or unaffordable options. With fewer carriers, steeper premiums, and more gaps in cover, insurance is no longer a background cost. For many landlords, it's become a fresh source of financial strain, one that can tip the balance between staying in the market or selling up. Mortgage costs have rewritten the maths for small landlords. A typical buy-to-let rate now stands at 5.5%, more than double what many paid before 2022. For a landlord with a single flat in Croydon, monthly interest alone can swallow half the rent. Add in £1,500 a year to meet Decent Homes requirements, just the minimum for repairs and safety checks. Management fees claim another 10 to 15%, especially for those using agents to handle compliance or tenant turnover. Tax changes mean mortgage interest can no longer be fully offset, deepening the squeeze. Net yields that once hovered around 4.5% have slipped to 2.8% or lower for many after all costs are counted. One small landlord, relying on rental income to supplement a pension, describes the reality. I used to clear £300 a month after costs. Now I'm lucky if it's £50. If anything else goes wrong, the numbers just don't work. For many, the decision is no longer about profit. It's about whether to stay in the game at all. Letting agents across England report a sharp drop in landlord inquiries, down 30% compared to last year. At the same time, the number of rental homes listed for sale has jumped, with London and the South East seeing a 15 to 20% increase in buy-to-let listings since March. Land Registry data confirms the churn. 26% of landlords sold at least some of their properties in 2024, a record high. Many of these sellers own just one or two homes, often using rental income to top up a pension or cover family costs. For some, the sums no longer add up, prompting a rapid exit. Survey responses show that nearly a third of landlords now plan to sell in the coming year, citing rising costs, tighter rules, and uncertainty about future returns. Estate agents note that most sales are to owner-occupiers rather than other landlords, pulling more homes out of the private rented sector entirely. The result is a shrinking pool of available rentals, even as demand remains intense. The Renters' Rights Bill rewrites the rules for millions in England. Section 21 no-fault evictions are abolished. Landlords can no longer remove tenants without a legal reason. Every tenancy becomes periodic from day one, ending fixed-term contracts and shifting the balance of security. Rent increases are capped at once per year, with at least 2 months' notice, and tenants gain the right to challenge rises at a tribunal. Blanket bans on pets are outlawed, but landlords may require pet insurance. The bill also bans rental bidding wars and discrimination against families or benefit claimants. All private rentals must meet the Decent Homes Standard, but 21% currently fall short. Enforcement falls to local councils, yet no new national funding comes with the law. Councils like Brighton have just one officer per 5,000 rented homes. Most complaints go unresolved. Leeds, Edinburgh and the North East face similar shortages, with backlogs growing and inspections limited to the worst hazards. The bill applies only in England. Scotland and Wales follow separate regimes, with Scotland's earlier reforms already straining local resources. For many renters, rights on paper depend on whether their council can afford to enforce them. 1 in 4 UK households, 11 million people, are now private renters, directly shaped by the Renters' Rights Bill and its fallout. Over the past year, average rents in England have surged by 9.2%, while landlord insurance premiums jumped 10 to 20%. Since the bill's announcement, Listings of former rental properties have risen by up to 20%, and nearly a quarter of landlords have sold or plan to sell. The abolition of Section 21 brings an end to no-fault evictions, but leaves councils with no new funding for enforcement, and many regions, like Brighton and the North East, are already struggling to cope. What remains unknown is how the new legal framework will be implemented locally and whether enough homes will stay in the rental market. The evidence points to a market under stress, caught between rising costs, changing laws, and deepening insecurity for both tenants and landlords. As the next 6 to 12 months unfold, the balance between renters' protections and landlord viability remains uncertain, documented but not yet decided. So, while the Renters' Rights Bill aims to protect tenants, it's creating significant uncertainty and risk for landlords. Losing Section 21 means losing flexibility to manage your property portfolio, deal with problem tenants, or exit the market when you need to. Many landlords are already making difficult decisions about their future in the sector. What's your take on this? Are you a landlord concerned about these changes? Have you already considered selling up? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Property Brief UK for more essential updates on the UK property market. We cover everything from legislation changes and market trends to practical advice for tenants, landlords, and investors. Ring the notification bell so you never miss an update that could affect your property decisions. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.